Well, here we are. All the major assemblies have been built. But first, I'm going to go over some of the finer points of these builds. Here on the head, I started with the laser assembly. The laser assembly consists of the laser profile piece and a couple of dome pieces to give the rounded appearance. Following up that, the head assembly comes next. The head assembly is just a simple bend assembly with a top piece that gives detail to the top of the head. After the lasers and the head assemblies were completed, there are washers that go onto the lasers. The washers give a space between the laser assembly and the head assembly. The kit calls for 3, however, because of the dome assemblies on the lasers jut out past the lasers, I was only able to use 2 on each side. After gluing and clamping and making sure everything was set, I set the lasers aside and got to work on the gun pod. The gun pod was a bit of a challenge because it has fine details that are easily warped and twisted. Just handle them with care and take your time and make sure everything's placed correctly and they'll come out nice and neat and perfect. After you have the rounded barrel profiles of the gun pod in, the next is the outline. The outline details a thin piece of metal that can be warped and twisted very easily. It requires delicate handling, and as long as you follow the grooves, make sure everything interlocks correctly, there would be no problem with warping or twisting of the part. Just be sure to have a light touch and everything should be fine. On the arm assembly, I started with the central parts of the arm. They are simple box folds that are held together with a couple of tabs for gluing. Once the glue is set, you can move on to the forearm or the shoulder pieces. Here I started with the forearm. The forearm assembly is a box structure that's closed at both ends. One thing I noticed that when assembling the arms, it's best to use the central pieces and slot them into the arms before closing them all up. This will make installing them easier as you don't have to finagle with a part that has closed access. The same goes for the shoulder assemblies as well. The shoulder assemblies are simple box construction with tabs to hold them in place. Light gluing is required and everything is held together nice and neat. Well, with that, all the parts have been assembled and the only thing that's left is the final assembly of the aircraft itself. And with that, this concludes the overview of the sub-assemblies of the Jasmine 1/72 VF-1S model.